Hey everybody, hope you're doing well today. Today's installment is going to be discussing legal strategies that we're using here at Ombra. So we've been in business for about 7 years now, and in general, haven't had to use a lot of legal services, partly because we've got some great friends that are connected to us, and so because of that, there's some things that we do that require some sort of, I guess, probably legal opinions. Back to my time, again, when I was in the government, we would, as a program manager, we would work with contracting. Contracting would go out and we would do, legal reviews, or we would get legal reviews from the staff lawyers. And many times we had to, kind of run them down a little bit because they're busy. There's only a handful of those lawyers for the entire center. And so we have a little bit of experience doing that kind of work as government program managers. So, but on this side of the fence, now that I'm in the contracting land, there's things that we would normally need. Those might include having a legal review on a contract, when we're working with the government, maybe looking at the federal acquisition regulations, FAR clauses, or DFARs, defense FAR clauses that are come out on a contract. A lot of them are the same. I often review those personally. There's some great websites. I'm happy to send those to anybody that's interested. Just hit me up, send me your email address or something like that in the chat below. And I'm happy to kind of help you out and walk you through those things. But in general, legal is something I still do today. Other things that we do is we sign a lot of non-disclosure agreements. There's some key words that we don't like to see in there. Indemnification is generally in there, and there's really two types of indemnification. I should have caveated this conversation as I'm not a lawyer and I'm not going to provide you any legal advice, but just kind of walking you through some of the things that we're working through on our side of the fence. So again, NDAs is a good example of something that we have lawyers look at from time to time. Our contracts, teaming agreements, just general compliance. We write a lot of proposals. I've mentioned that a few times. And so, when we're writing these proposals, we're working with teammates. We want to make sure that we're not sharing the wrong information. We're not disclosing somebody's IP. And sometimes we don't even want to disclose who we're working with, because some of the NDAs that we sign are very specific on that, because they want to really control the messaging there. So a whole host of things that we use, legal advice in one way or the other. There could be an HR issue. There could be a proprietary information or IP dispute. It could be that we're trying to maybe acquire another company. So lots of things, that early on were less of a problem. Now as we've continued to grow, we started to have these conversations. And so that's part of our small business checklist that we'll provide you if you'd like to see, including contracting, business development, and again, legal considerations. Some things on here, U.S. code. Maybe you're trying to export something. So it's an ITAR. You got to have to work with the Department of State or something like that, or EAR. And so there's all these things that kind of grow and become more and more important factor for us. So it's one of the things we're at that stage right now where we're talking to different law firms. We may hire an in-house attorney, which will probably make more of a compliance officer, help us kind of review some of our proposals, help us understand, again, whether or not there's IP issues and things like that. So again, just kind of the thing that we're thinking about today. I think the good thing about that is that, when we were first started off 7 years ago, we really didn't need to worry about any of those. If you have a good background, or you have somebody that it's in the community, we'll do some of that. So we today still consult with a couple of firms. We still provide similar services to them. We'll kind of highlight a couple of, maybe a FAR clause that is new, something that maybe that it's a newer clause, something you may want to take a look at. So those are kind of the things that we were most concerned about. But like I said, we've been in business for almost 7 years now. In the future, we'll have a full legal staff. When I worked at another company, between being a government employee and starting Ombra, we actually had a legal staff. So, and that company was about a $500 million a year company. So, as we kind of continue to grow, the legal staff is something that we'll need to develop. We'll have to have some strategies of when to bring them in, what's the right pricing. Do we hire them on as a consultant? Maybe $300 an hour, $200 an hour, something like that. for probably on a low end, maybe up to $450 an hour, depending on kind of what you're looking at. So, and that may make sense if you're just kind of doing it on an ad hoc basis. But I think the easiest and cheapest thing for folks to do is, if you're a smaller firm, reach out to a company like ours, somebody who's happy to kind of help grow you. And generally, the reason we're happy to do that is, one, we're trying to give back. Two, is that maybe there's an opportunity for a partnership or something like that. So that's what I would do in the early days, and we continue to do that. We did have to retain an attorney for an HR matter at one point, but that's one of those things where you need to find somebody who can connect you to the right people. And probably one of the biggest lessons we had last year was just make sure that when you need competent legal advice, retain that. But maybe you don't need. Maybe you can just kind of do it on a fractional basis, like you could do a controller or something like that. So those are the big things that are going on. The other big thing that's going on for us, I just got back from a couple conferences. One was on how to grow and expand your business. I'll talk more about that and probably in a future installment. Another one was about how do you retain wealth, or how do you grow your company's valuation. Also really interesting material there, including part of that was what's going on with inflation, what's going to happen. It's been obviously a little bit high over the last few years, but how inflation is probably going to continue to go up, and how do you hedge that with hard currencies, gold and things like that. So that's the other part of probably the next conversation I'll have, is kind of what we're thinking about there in terms of how are we handling the end of year based on our accounting system. We're still a cash-based accounting system from a tax perspective. So probably the next time I'll talk about that a little bit. But in this particular discussion, I just really wanted to kind of highlight a couple of things that we're thinking about as far as the legal services. If we hire an attorney, or if we either in-house or external, what are the things that we're going to be considering? And so what we'll do is probably build a checklist of the things that we talked about today when I was talking to a great attorney friend of mine. So anyway, if you have any questions about what we're thinking about, you want a little more specificity, happy to connect with you. Just drop your email or like this, and I'll follow up with you. But anyway, hopefully this was useful. As again, we just continue to share with you guys the things that we're kind of going through on a weekly basis, and that's probably it for now. Look forward to communicating with you guys in the future.